Hey everybody. So we are going to do a little background to get us ready for our next chapter, which has to do with expressions, specifically algebraic expressions. So you're going to want to write these notes down in your math notebook. The first thing that we need to know is that an expression is a math sentence and it has no equal sign. You have two different kinds of expressions. You have what's called a numeric expression, and it's just like what the name says. So an example of a numeric expression would be 3 plus 4 is a numeric expression. 10 minus 3 is a numeric expression. 4 multiplied by 6 is a numeric expression. And this one, 24 divided by 12. So it looks like a fraction, but it's a way that you and I are going to see division below in this chapter. The other kind of expression that you have is called an algebraic expression. And an algebraic expression, this is when we get into the cool part, is an expression with numbers and letters. And we'll go ahead and we'll do a little bit of description of what those letters can be. Some of you may know it already, which is awesome. So an algebraic expression would be something like 9 plus A. That's algebraic, letters and numbers. You could have 42 minus Q. You could have 7Y. Or you could have x divided by 17. So those are all algebraic expressions. Expression because they don't have an equal sign. Algebraic because they have numbers and letters. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to talk about the vocabulary for algebraic expressions. And if you've done this before, that's great. It's going to give you a step up. If you haven't, then this is definitely something that you want to focus on because we want to use the correct vocabulary. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an algebraic expression that we can work with. So if I have 3x plus 4 plus 2y plus 7. So we'll start with that one. First thing we want to talk about is your first piece are what we call terms. And terms are the parts of the expression. And the easy thing to do with your terms is to just take this expression, take out all the pluses or the minus, and just put a comma. So the pieces of this expression, let's change color, would be 3x, comma, 4, comma, 2y, comma, and 7. So those are my parts of the expression. So the next thing that we want to talk about is we want to talk about our variables. And what variables are, those are the letters in the expression. So the letter only. So if you check this one out, I actually gave you two variables. And the two variables that you have x and you have y. Those are our variables. The next thing that we have, this is a big one for us, this is called a coefficient. And a coefficient is the number in front of the variable. And those numbers are stuck to it. So the coefficient in this one, we have two of them. Our coefficient, I'm going to slide this over just a little bit. Our coefficient in this is I have a 3 because that's attached to the x, and I have a 2 which is attached to the y. So those are my two coefficients. I'm getting a little crowded. I'm going to use my last one. The last one is what we call a constant. And a constant is a number by itself. So the number is not attached to a variable. It's kind of all alone in the problem. So if you look at this expression, I have two constants. So my two constants in this is I have a 4 all by itself, and I have a 7. So those are my parts of the expression. I want to show you another little special case for those. Feel free to pause this video whenever you need to write it down. So let's do one together real quick. So if I gave you 9m plus 8 plus m. Okay, we'll make this one pretty simple. So if we switch our color real quick, I've got my terms. You remember the terms are the parts of the expression. So the terms in this would be 9m, comma, 8, comma, and m. Then I have my variables. Now in this particular one, I only have one variable, my m, and so I only need to put it one time. So m is my variable. All right, here's an important one for us. Remember, a coefficient is the number stuck to the variable. So one of these is easy to see, 9. But guys, I have another one. This m has an imaginary number in front of it. The number in front of it is 1, because that means I have one m. So it's a lot like what we just did with decimals, where every number has a decimal on it. Sometimes it's invisible. If there's not a real number in front of it that you can see, it always is a 1 in front. So be on the lookout for that. And then I do have a constant. And my constant is 8. So those are the parts of an algebraic expression. I want to show you one other thing. When we're writing expressions, we can also do some expressions and incorporate exponents in it. So this is kind of cool. Oops. It would even be cooler if I spelled that right. So if I gave you this, let's say that I had b times b times b. So think about how we know exponents work. That's these numbers multiplied by itself 3 times. So that would end up being b to the 3rd power. Okay? If I did q times q times q times q, think about what we know about exponents. Q multiplied by itself 4 times would be q to the 4th. I can also put in some numbers too. So if I did 3 times a times a. So I'm going to do 3. That's going to equal 3. And then a's multiplied together would be a squared. So it would look all together like that. 3a squared. And just like what we did with when we were learning about order of operations, it means this is all going to be multiplied. Let's do one more. Let's do 9 times x times x times x times x times x, just because it's fun to make a lot of x's. That's going to be 9 multiplied by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our base is x, and exponent is 5. 9 to the 5th power. All right, good job. We're ready to start algebraic expressions.